Okay, so today we're doing the interview for To Parent or Not to Parent, and these are my parents. This is my mom,
Dina.
and my dad.
Troy.
So the first question is, they raised me, obviously, so how has this affected your life and your marriage?
I feel like raising a child has completely changed my personality and changed my view on children in general.
It has given me more centeredness. It has helped me to become a better person, to become more thoughtful. And there's definitely stresses in raising children, but it's worth it.
So how did raising children affect your marriage?
I feel like it brought us closer emotionally.
I believe it does challenge you to become more emotionally connected, and it challenges your communication and just your everyday life.
Okay, so before you had children, what were your vocational goals looking like? Was it easier or harder after you had kids?
They didn't change. My vocational goals didn't change. I had a trade, and it's what I was going to do until I retired. So there's no change. Just longer hours as the child is younger.
I don't feel like I had any vocational changes. I feel like I never really knew what career path I wanted to take. I just kept working.
So that you guys didn't have any major goals that you wanted to meet, do you think that made it easier as having a children because nothing was added to your plate?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So after you had kids, how did your finances change? I know children are expensive. Were you guys prepared? How did you prepare? And did you guys have help? That's kind of a mouthful. So were you guys prepared financially to have children?
We were prepared financially to have children.
Okay.
But we did have a lot of help from family.
So what did your preparation look like?
There was the taking care of the space, your room that you was going to live in, to prepare that, to buy the stuff necessary that we could buy. We had a party so that we could get more things. That was some of the preparation. And I don't personally believe that there's any preparation as far as economically that you can do to have a child. I think that it's a natural act, and that things come afterwards. If you're really wanting to raise a child in the proper manner, that you just step to and you begin to do the right things economically as needed.
Okay. So what were the emotional impacts between finding out you were pregnant and during your pregnancy and then after birth?
Finding out when I was pregnant was really exciting because Phoenix was a planned baby. And what was the middle question?
What was your emotions like while you were pregnant?
My emotions were really happy and excited and scared. I was really scared to give birth. I didn't want to give birth. But all the stuff that came with pregnancy and the changes going on inside of me, excuse me, was really exciting.
Okay. How did you feel when you found out mom was pregnant?
I was surprised and shocked.
Okay. And what did the feelings set in while she was pregnant?
I became a little happier. I wasn't ever upset or angry or bothered by it. It wasn't a bad feeling. I just became a little bit happier.
Okay. And then was there anything that changed after you had birth with your emotions, or did everything pretty much stay the same? The same type of feelings?
The same.
Well, after I gave birth, my emotions were all messed up from all my hormones being out of whack. So I had to deal with that for like a month.
And as far as having a baby, there was no emotional change. Dealing with her was a little bit rough, as she said, that her hormones had changed quite a bit and things were coming back into balance. It'd be quite a bit of time, and just dealing with that in a proper way was a little rough, but not overwhelming.
So what were the physical impacts? Of course, there's differences to a mother's body as she carries the baby and a father as he doesn't carry a baby. So what were your physical impacts to your body? What did that look like?
The physical impact was that I was really small, and I was only 95 pounds when I got pregnant, and I gained 41 pounds, so I got huge. And I didn't have any other problems though, except that Phoenix was getting too big for my body, and I had to be on bed rest.
There's essentially no changes in my physical self at all.
So I heard this theory that when a mother's pregnant, the father also gains almost as much weight as the mom does, just due to eating. You guys eat together. So that didn't happen for you?
That didn't happen to me. I had an extremely physical job, and my weight changes seasonally as work slows down or speeds up and the heat increases, but nothing to do with the pregnancy changed my weight.
Okay. So as a woman, did you feel the need to reproduce, kind of as society puts a whole meaning of a woman is basically her essential reason to reproduce? Did you feel that way?
No. No, I never felt the need to reproduce.
And how did you feel as a male? Did you feel the need that your wife had needed to reproduce because she was a female?
No, I did not.
Okay. And did your guys' culture have any impact on your decision to have children?
I think possibly it did, as our age dictates that generally we should grow up and have children and have a family. Just by being around other family members, we had a medium to a large sized family on both sides of my family. So maybe it was just ingrained in me. Also media, my whole life showed families, multiple, like anywhere from four member households to larger was always portrayed as good in media, movies, television shows.
How do you feel that? Did your culture impact your need to have kids?
I don't feel like the culture played any role in my feelings as to if I should have kids or not.
Okay, and then last question. Were you guys worried about your age while mom was pregnant? Were you guys young or old? And do you guys have any regrets about having children at that age?
I wasn't worried about my age. I was really happy that I had Phoenix at 28 years old and not sooner than that, because I didn't feel like I was really ready to have a child before then.
I definitely thought I was too old.
Okay.
Troy was 31.
So did that have any impact on your decision, or did that play any role in any emotional toll?
I was a little anxious about it, but it didn't stop the decision.
Okay. And then there's a bonus question. Did your feelings of knowing that you could be grandparents have any impact on your decision, and how do you feel knowing that you could be grandparents one day?
I really didn't expect you to live long enough for me to be a grandparent.
What? Why did you say that?
Because I had jaundice.
You thought that was gonna make her die?
Hi, this is our interview with the couple who decided to not have kids, and this is
Travis, 28. Or 31.
Oh
31.
my God.
See, I told you I'd mess it up.
And I'm Lauren, 27.
okay. So
For real.
to start off, so how has not having kids affected your guys' life?
For me, not at all, because just once I grew up, I realized I didn't want kids. So it's just not something that I feel like I need in my life.
I feel like pretty positively because I don't feel responsible enough. So
Okay, good. What about your guys' marriage? Were there any problems making this decision?
No.
I feel like it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, cool. And why did you guys choose not to have kids? Like, what was your reason?
For me, it was more just like my sisters all had kids, so I got to see them deal with their children and the responsibility aspect of it, and then the money aspect of it. So that just, for me, I didn't feel like that's something I needed. But
I've just never really liked babies or kids, honestly. So I feel like it was just never an issue.
Okay. Did your vocational goals or your finances have any impact on this decision?
no, not for me at least.
Yeah, not really. I feel like it could have worked either way still, so.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Were you guys both on the same page about having kids? What did your conversation look like?
Yeah, I mean, we were both on the same page. Like, we both agreed that we didn't want children. And
Yeah, I don't even remember having
I don't think
An
we
actual
actually, it's just kind of
conversation?
something that's came up a couple times throughout our relationship,
Yeah.
but never like,
it wasn't like a huge deal.
yeah.
that
And then
had
one
to
day we both
discuss.
just agreed children was not something that was going to happen.
Yeah, just not our forte.
Yeah.
Okay. And then as a woman, did you feel the need to reproduce? Kind of, that's what our bodies are built for.
Yeah, like I didn't really feel like it was what I was ever meant to do, but definitely peer pressure. The amount of times you get asked, when are you having kids? What are you doing? Like, it's insane. So peer pressure, yes, but I never personally felt like that was
You never
what
like,
I
felt
had.
it in your heart.
Yeah, it was never just like, I need a baby. No.
Okay. Were you upset when your peers around you started having kids and you guys just kind of were like, kind of left out, but not really?
No, because I actually, like, for me, at least, I enjoy, like, hanging out with my friends' kids and stuff, because I like children and all that, so, and I enjoy, you know, like, watching, like, one of my best friends, Jack, his son, you know, I love watching him grow up and all that, but it never actually made me want to have a child. But them having children never affected me none.
Yeah, I feel like it was never like being left out or like changed friendships really. Yeah.
Perfect. And how do you guys feel knowing you'll never be grandparents?
Pretty great.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
Yep.
And not a second round of kids.
Nope.
Did your parents put a pressure on you guys to have kids once you got married?
Mine, thankfully, no. They've never even really mentioned kids in the same room as me before.
Yeah,
So.
and my dad, no. My mom, I think she wants me to have kids. But she never really forced it, but jokingly, yeah, she mentions every time, like, when you guys can have
That's
a kid,
true,
and it's the same answer every time. Not happening, Mom.
Yeah. And how old were you guys when you made this decision? Did you know, like, when you guys were little, you were like, oh, I'm never going to be a parent? Or did it just kind of, like, grow up and realize you just didn't want to?
For me, as a kid, I actually wanted to have children, and then I'd say I was probably like 18 when I realized that probably children was not the best thing for me, and so yeah, just never pursued that.
Yeah, I think I've always known, like, as long as I can remember.
I would
I've never,
Definitely say that's probably
yeah,
facts.
I've never had, like, a mothering, like, oh, let me see your baby. Like, I don't.
Unless it comes to a dog.
Okay, puppies are different.
Puppies are different.
Yeah.
And then is there anything that you guys would change about your decision, or you're pretty set in stone? You've never had any regrets about it?
Yeah, I feel
As
pretty
of
confident.
this point in my life, I would say there would be nothing I would change about my
Yeah.
decision. But 10 years from now, you never know. I don't know.
That's
But
true.
as of right now, I'm
Yeah.
saying no. I'm pretty good with my decision.
Perfect.
No complaints.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, so this is going to be the analyzation and compare and contrast part of the assignment. So of course we interviewed two couples. The first couple were my parents, and they decided to have kids. And then the second couple were our friends, and they decided not to have kids. That was the major difference between both couples. Of course, there wasn't much of an age gap. The first couple was in their 50s. The second couple was close to their 40s. So I guess that's about 10 years. Maybe 10, 15 years. So the first couple, we had to ask different questions. I tried to keep them similar. They raised the children and affected their life. They had many stressors, just like regular stressors that come along with having kids, of course, preparing and learning how to raise the kids. And it did create stressors in their relationship, in their marriage, but it wasn't horrible, that they said. Their vocational goals stayed the same before and after. Neither of them really had careers. They had good jobs. Their finances did not change very much. They said that they make more money when I was little than they do now. So that's kind of odd to me, but it's okay. They were prepared. They had a lot of help financially from our family, the rest of our family. The emotional impacts, they were scared, they were shocked, they were happy. Regular feelings that come along with being pregnant and raising your first child. Their physical impacts, of course, my mom carried me, she gained weight. My dad didn't have any physical impacts. He worked a physical job, and so nothing really changed. As a woman, my mom did not feel like she had to reproduce just because her body was built for that. She never really wanted kids until I happened. And then they didn't have a culture that they practice. We're just American. So she both of them were kind of like, their culture didn't change their decision to have kids. My mom was not worried about her age. She thought it was a perfect timing because she was prepared. She's gone through enough life to be ready. My dad felt like he was kind of old. But they don't regret it at all. So that was the first couple. The second couple was the one who decided not to have kids. When I asked them how it affected their life, they said positively, which is good because that was their decision. It affected their marriage in not much of any way. They both had that decision made, so they kind of just went along with it. They chose not to have kids. The wife never really wanted kids. She didn't like kids. The husband liked kids, and he wanted to have kids when he was younger, but he changed his mind as he got older. Probably just you go through life and you don't really want to have kids. Their vocational goals did not change. Neither of them had a set career. But obviously nothing changed, and it had no impact on having kids. The wife said that if they did decide to have kids, everything would have been the same and they would be able to have those kids. They were both on the same page. They said the conversation never really happened as like a sit down and talk through it, but throughout their relationship they're just kind of like nah, and the other one's like okay, that's fine. So they were kind of just on the same page, which I thought was really cool because it was really easy for them. As a woman, she did not feel the need to reproduce, but there was a lot of peer pressure because society shows that women need to reproduce. So she was asked multiple times. She just thought it was really frustrating and annoying.
You can leave that open for a second. I gotta fold the clothes in this
Another question that was asked was, were you upset when your peers around you started having kids? How did you feel? Neither of them were upset. The husband said he likes babies, so he was kind of enjoying hanging out with his friends and their kids. And the wife kind of said the same, that it didn't break any friendships when their friends had kids. It just made it a little bit different just because kids were involved. How do you feel knowing you won't be grandparents? They were happy. I kind of said, like, that's like a second round of kids, and they clearly didn't want the first round, so they were happy. Their parents didn't put much pressure on them. The wife's side of the family never said anything really about it, never really asked her. She probably just said she don't have kids, and they accepted it. The husband's sides, the dad didn't really mind, but the husband's mom is always like, when are you having kids, when are you having kids? And he just kind of tells her, like, never. And it's not a bad conversation that they have every time, but it's just a casual no. They also said that their culture did not have an impact. They're also American, so they don't have much of a culture that they practice. So no cultural, nothing cultural made an impact on their decision to not have kids. I asked them how old they were when they made this decision. The wife said she never wanted kids. She just never had that, never felt like she had that natural nurturing feeling to be a mother. She just didn't really mind, and she just didn't want kids. The husband said he did want kids when he was a kid, but now as he got older, I think he said around 18, he kind of just changed his mind. It was like, no. So to compare and contrast these two, obviously the biggest difference is my parents had kids and the other couple did not. So to compare and contrast these two, the difference between them is obviously the biggest thing. My parents decided to have kids and the other couple did not, so that's the biggest difference. Neither couples, well, out of all four of them, neither had any career paths. Nothing vocationally changed. Whether when my parents had me or when they decided not to have kids. Something else is that both couples agreed and they were on the same page. My parents decided to have kids together, and that was something that they agreed to do, something they found naturally. The other couple did not want to have kids, and they agreed on that. They were all on the same page with their partners. I think their culture, we're all Americans, so their cultures also didn't have any impact on their decisions. Nobody felt peer pressured to have kids or to not have kids. And both of the women said that they did not feel pressured just because their bodies were physically able to reproduce. They didn't feel the absolute dire need to, even though my mom did. It wasn't necessarily pressured on them. My parents are happy to be grandparents. They're excited. I know personally, outside of what was asked, they're ready. The other couple was perfectly fine with not being grandparents, which is also perfectly fine. So the major difference was the decision to have kids and to not have kids. So both couples said that their decision did not have an impact on their marriage. Of course, there were stressors in my parents' marriage, but the decision was not one of those. As well as with the other couple, they didn't have any stressors for deciding to have kids, but I'm sure they have stressors in their marriage that are natural. So overall, I think both couples had the same idea. They both were on the same page. They both did what they wanted to do. Neither of them felt pressured to make their decision, culturally or financially, vocationally or emotionally. But of course, each decision came with its own stressors and its own other decisions within that decision. So I applaud both couples. It's hard to raise a kid, and it's hard to not raise a kid because you're questioning if you should have one or not. And if you ever change your mind, that's a whole nother big conversation you have to have with your partner, and that might go south. Thank you.